Hey folks, today's video is going to be one of my discussion videos I do every now and then, and today we're going to be talking about Conquerors. This was a new system that was brought in as part of the Roads to Power DLC and the free patch, so if you have played the game since Roads to Power was released, you will have had access to this, and maybe you didn't even know this was happening during your campaigns. And first of all, what are Conquerors? Well, as you can see on the screen in a moment, they are an economical archetype. I'm not sure about that kind of like terminology for them, but basically they are a souped-up character, a little bit like when Genghis Khan joins your games, and they will just go out and try conquer as much stuff as they can. And they were brought in by the game team because they wanted to mix up the gameplay a little bit, make part of the maps at times a little less kind of like static as to what was going on. And from what I've played, it really makes it feel like another player is almost coming into your game and playing the game like you would potentially play it. You see these realms kind of blob out for a while, and then maybe they'll fall apart, or maybe they'll just keep expanding, almost like a player would. And again, if you've missed what these do, as it says here, a conqueror will want to expand their realm through war at any cost. They will invest all their money into the war chest or buy men-at-arms. They tend to declare more wars than usual and are rather untrustworthy allies. They forsake most pleasures in life, such as hosting or going to activities or sponsoring inspirations, to save gold for crushing their enemies. They will only use activities to gain enough prestige or piety to go to war. And basically, as it says there, all they do is go to war, build buildings that help them go to war, get men-at-arms, get mercenaries. Everything they do is about going to war. And when that happens, when they become a conqueror, they get this fame trait. And you can see here just how good this is. It starts with tax plus 5 gold a month, men-at-arms maintenance minus 75%, title creation cost minus 75%, scheme reduction, legitimacy plus 5 a month, which is pretty good, unlocks force vassalization casus belli, so they always have a way to go to war with you, removes prestige cost and piety cost from casus belli, so they can pretty much go to war whenever they want, and they've always got a reason to do so. They also will have armies flock to their banners, so they get like special mercenaries. Their vassals will fall in line, so there's a lot less chance for them to have rebellions, and claimants will flock to their court, again just giving them more casus belli as they can then push those claimant claims on other realms and keep expanding through that. And yes, if you've seen these in game, they do tend to expand pretty quickly. I've had a few here or there that haven't really, but for the most part, if you zoom out of your game, if you've been playing for like 10 to 20 years in game, if you zoom out and you think, why is that realm suddenly so big? It's probably because they've got a conqueror, and that is the basis of this system. They get this buff and then they just kind of go crazy. There are some in-game rules that actually control this as well, so you can do conqueror's frequency, and by default this is every 5 years there is a small chance for independent rulers with certain traits and personalities to become conquerors. So you can change this so there's no conquerors. You can change this so it's 50% reduced, or 90% reduced, or 100% increased. Or you can then also change it so only strong characters can have this happen under the same rule. So every 5 years, but they have to have strong. Now, the first bit of feedback I would give on this system around how it works is I kind of feel like this number should be bigger. One of the funny things they called out, they talked about this in a dev diary very early in Roads to Power about how they wanted to make the game a little bit more difficult, and this was one way they were going to do it. They did say in there, and I'll put it up on the screen, that there was a very, very small chance of this happening. And I'm sorry, game team, this seems to happen all the time. I've just done a week's worth of live streams on the channel for the launch of Roads to Power, and I think we had at least 4 to 5 conquerors all the time. And there are some reasons why that happened, and we'll get into that under Conqueror's Inheritance. But I think every 5 years is a little bit too often. I would almost change this to maybe every 10 to 20 years, maybe like a span, so it's literally like every 10 to 20 years or something, you have a chance for this to happen. Because although I like this system, I think it's really, really fun actually. As I said before, it almost feels like another player coming into your game and picking a realm and then just going hamming it for like 10 to 20 years. And then, you know, as I said, they'll either die off or they'll inherit it or something like that. And it really does mix up the map a little bit. So I do like this system, but I think they spawn maybe a little bit more often. Before I actually got my hands on the DLC, I thought these would spawn like every 50 to 100 years, that they would be pretty rare. But I'll be honest, I think there's always one active whenever I've checked for one. I would say though, probably leave this on default, maybe change it to strong only. That would probably move it more in line to what I thought it would work like. But to be honest, leaving it on default is probably pretty fun. Like I say, just spice up your campaigns. The other thing here is the bonuses. So this is where there's some crazy options. So you can leave it on the default trait, which is the one we just looked at before. You can change it so there's no trait. So the AI for these characters is more aggressive, but they don't get any bonuses at all. So they just declare war more often, but they don't get any of the other actual benefits from the trait. The other one is extreme, and now this is extreme. You'll see here, Scourge of the Gods. Now I'm going to turn this on for a campaign, one live stream, just so we can see how crazy this is. I might even turn it up so they're more frequent or something, just so we can see how crazy this gets. But as you can see from the tooltip for this, they get a godlike boost, siege phases quicker. You can see they just get these crazy bonuses. Knight advantage plus 25. Army movement speed, army siege is 100% more effective. Men-at-arms are even given siege progress, control growth, and plague resistance. So yeah, if you have this turned on, you're going to have a bad time for the most part. I wouldn't ever activate this for normal campaigns, and that is why it is optional. You have to go in and turn this on, but I think it would be kind of fun to see this every now and then. And then the other one is that you can have a 5% chance of the Conquerors getting that Scourge of the Gods modifier. Again, maybe I'd leave that turned on for a couple of campaigns. It would be kind of cool to see, although I guess if it was right next to you and they got it, you're going to be having a bit of a bad time. So maybe I wouldn't, but I think that is a cool option. And then the last one, this is the one where I think the default should probably be changed, and this is at the moment primary heir is the default. So the Conqueror personality and bonuses will only be inherited by the primary heir on succession. Now the problem with this is that the primary heir always gets this, I think, unless they're craven or one of the kind of traits that would go against this, like lazy or something like that. I think that prevents them from getting it. But from what I've seen in my campaigns, pretty much always the primary heir will get this. And then the only issue I really have with this is that there's just a big dynasty that just never seems to end. We had them in India on my campaign, and they just kept going. And when they died, their son took over as the Conqueror, and then their son, and then their son. And they ended up pretty much taking over all of India. Now, that is pretty cool that that happened in a way. But also, like, how realistic is it? And I know some people will say in the comments, you're playing Crusader Kings, none of it's really that realistic. But I don't know, I think inheriting it through your primary heir every time, unless they hit these negative traits, I don't know. I think that's just one step too far. I think it should maybe be like a percentage chance. Maybe there's like a low percentage chance they inherited. It's just a little bit weird that it's always the primary heir and they will always get it unless they have these negative traits. I think that's just a little bit too powerful. There should be a percentage chance, or maybe they have to have specific traits to inherit it in the future. Let me know what you think in the comments down below from your campaigns, but I do believe this should be changed. Now, you can change it in the options. You could do no inheritance, so it's just never inherited. And to be honest, I thought this was the default option until I checked it during one of the live streams this week. I kind of feel like this should be the default, or as I've said, like no inheritance or like a 5% chance of inheritance, something like that, just so they don't just endlessly have conquerors in a certain realm. And then the last option is even crazier. This is all heirs. Basically, all the heirs of that independent ruler on succession will get given the conqueror trait. And yeah, I can't imagine turning this on all heirs, Scourge of the God modifier, like how crazy would the map be? I kind of feel like giving that a try, like I've said before, and just seeing how crazy that gets, but that would be insane. I think putting on all heirs would just be kind of lunacy to me, but it is cool that it's an option. I always do say for this game, it's awesome that the game team give us all these options in the game rules and then allow mods to go crazy with this kind of stuff as well. But that is basically how this system works. Like I said, I wanted to make this video because during my live stream, some people didn't even realize Conquerors was a system. And I think, as I've said, it is a cool system. I do think the default should be changed to maybe every 10 to 20 years for frequency and a percentage chance of inheritance, not just the default being they always inherited. And then lastly in this video, I wanted to show you how the Conquerors looked when we finished our campaign that we'd been doing in the live streams last week. And as you can see, we had 5 of these active. You can see one was in Ruthenia, and you can see on the map, you know, he'd gone pretty crazy. I think he was like the 3rd conqueror in a row for Ruthenia. And yeah, he'd done pretty well for himself. There's a Vugra up here. Now, he hadn't done much. As you can see, he just kind of sat up here. He's just about to get taken over by the Mongols, so that would be a bad time. The next one is down here as the Mussadids, and now they were around for ages. So I think he was like the 6th successor conqueror for this line. They'd taken over a bit of East Persia and then worked their way into India, and they'd done quite well for themselves. The next one is Sapmi. They were up here, as you can see, taken over quite a bit of the north of Scandinavia. And then the last one is Damascus. They had just spawned down here when our campaign finished. So as you can see, although the game team said these are going to be pretty rare, we do have 5 of them active, 4 of them are kings. One of them only just spawned and he's a duke. And yeah, there's quite a few of them. And as I've said, they were quite fun to have on the map. It was cool for us to go look, see what they were getting up to, see what adventures they were doing. The one thing I would say actually is I believe they should have a map mode for this. So one of the things is the only way to really see them is to go into the, character finder, search Conqueror, and then you will see Conqueror characters. I kind of wish there was a map mode, a little bit like Legends, where you can see all the legends on the screen at the moment that are currently active. It would be awesome if the realms where Conquerors were active had this effect on a map mode. So you could just see at a glance, okay, that's a Conqueror, that's a Conqueror. Maybe it would help you kind of plan around them if they'd spawn, something like that, and just really help you at a glance see them rather than having to use the character finder. I mean, the character finder's fine. It's not like a crazily bad system. I just would kind of like a map mode that looks a little bit like this with all the Conquerors on it. But anyway, guys, that is going to be the end of the video. Like I say, I just wanted to talk about the Conqueror system because I know from my live streams again that some players didn't even realize this was a system. And as I've said all the way through this, I think it's an awesome system. There's just a few little tweaks here that I think could be implemented. And from what I've seen, I did a vote on the channel in the community section the other day, and a lot of people agreed that it's an awesome system, and a lot of them saying, like, I am the Conqueror. So actually, yeah, the last thing is that you can become this yourself. There is a decision where if you hit enough requirements, you can become a Conqueror, get the buff, and then play through like a whole Conqueror, like an Alexander the Great kind of campaign, and just see how far that can take you. That would be really fun. I haven't been able to hit that yet. If you have, let me know in the comments down below. How well did it go for you? Did you inherit it down with your sons and just keep going crazy on the map? Kind of like how did it change how you played the game? But we'll leave it there for today. As always, hit that like button if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new here. I play a lot of Crusader Kings. I cover the dev diaries. I do ranking videos, all those kind of YouTuber things. So if you've enjoyed it, please do subscribe to the channel. I've got plenty more coming. And I'm also covering the recently semi-announced EU5 and all the cool stuff they've got going on over there. But we'll leave it there for today, and I'll see you in the next one.